What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down something with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to give you guys a very quick technical update on the markets. Talk about a very important warning I have about some key levels for SPY and the others. But before we get into devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. The offer ends in just about 1 week from now. Anyways, for the markets, I just want to say that right now, I want to call out that SPY has this important gap on the daily time frame. So check this out, guys. There's a big gap over here all the way down to 437, and also SPY gapped up to a new all-time high. So what generally happens is we enter new territory SPY has never been around before, and then when that happens, you're not going to have as many, like, very convicted buyers at these highs. So generally what does tend to happen is when you make a new all-time high, when you gap up like this, we do tend to come back down to fill the gap, and I think there's a good chance we're going to do that within the next couple of trading days. But that depends. Do we lose 540 as support? If we lose 540, I think we're easily going to come down to 537 to fill this gap. That's going to be my price target. Excuse me. Then we'll see if we get a bounce off that or not. But I just want to give you guys a warning to be careful at 540. So far, SPY has been testing that support, and it's showing some weakness right now. And as a result of SPY dipping, the QQQ also dropped quite a bit. This is causing Tesla to drop and other tickers as well. So that's going to be very important for how we end up moving. One important reminder is that for today, Tesla also happens to have its 2024 annual stockholder meeting today. It's going to be for Thursday, June 13th, 2024 at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. So we'll just have to see how things end up going for that. That's going to be pivotal for how Tesla ends up moving. But let me just make it very clear that right now for SPY, these are the levels to watch for. I'm going to pull up the 4-hour real quick, and then I'm going to talk about the gap. So right now, our key support is currently around 540, and our resistance is at 542. If we lose 540, and I think there's a good chance we're going to be testing this very soon, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 537 to fill our gap. We also have an imbalance all the way down here in the 537s. So I expect that is the most likely possibility soon. I think that SPY is showing some weakness, so there is a risk of more downside as time goes on. Now, for Tesla, I'm seeing something very similar. Tesla is showing some weakness right now. It did kind of push up, and there is still a lot of upside potential. I personally think that Tesla has potential later on for the upside, but for the short term, there could be some downside coming. Look at the inverse head and shoulders on Tesla. This looks very strong so far. It's still holding this very nicely. We have a nice left shoulder, we have a head, we have a right shoulder. And, with the shareholder meeting coming out, we'll see if this leads to a big move for Tesla. But let me just note that I think that Tesla will be running to higher levels later on. It may take a few weeks to get to those really high targets, like the 200s all over again. But for now, Tesla is trying to break out and kind of is failing so far. And with the market selling off, with SPY showing weakness in the QQQ, it's really making it difficult for Tesla to really break out and hold. We got a very big reaction after Elon Musk's tweets about the shareholders basically voting in favor of yes of Tesla's different proposals by a very wide margin. So I personally think that there's a good chance that Tesla might dip a little bit more. We're going to be looking at, first off, we're losing 184, so that's a sign of weakness. The pre-market low is breaking. So watch 182. We got to hold this. I think we might test this very soon. If we lose this on Tesla, we'll be dipping all the way down to about the gap fill at 178. So there is some weakness on Tesla, and there is a risk of it dipping a little bit more for the short term. But like I said in my earlier video, the medium term still looks bullish. We still have a very nice looking pattern. We're holding some key supports, and I still think that there is potential in the stock nonetheless. Now, this will be dependent on the shareholder meeting, but so far, so good from Tesla. Now, for Nvidia, I wanted to say that Nvidia actually has a gap to fill on the daily time frame. So Nvidia has been pushing to about 130 a share, which is awesome. But the problem is the higher we go, the tougher resistance is going to get, and 130 is becoming tougher for Nvidia. If we end up losing 127, I think we're going to come all the way down to fill the gap in the 125 area. So I think that with Nvidia kind of gapping up like this, watch resistance around 130. If we end up getting rejection, we could be looking for a move back down. But we have to lose 127 for confirmation. As of right now, Nvidia is still shuffling between 130 and 128. So give it some time. Bitcoin is showing some weakness. Bitcoin is actually dipping all the way down towards our 50 EMA. this is where support is at 67,000 and resistance at 68,500. I think there's a risk of it dipping back down to 67,000 to retest our 50 EMA, so be careful with that. For the QQQ, the daily time frame has two gaps to fill. For now, I'm just going to focus on one of them. So the first gap is all the way down here around this 474 area. If we end up losing 475, we'll be looking at 474. If that fails us, we'll be dipping all the way down to 472. I see a risk of us testing those levels, especially because the 4-hour is showing lots of contraction and weakness right now. So if we continue to fall, I'll be looking at 474, followed by the next levels all the way down here at 472. If we lose that, this imbalance is going to fill all the way down to about 468. Those are going to be your three levels. I think the QQQ is going to see a little downside, a little bit of weakness for now, and we'll be watching to see how things end up going. For Apple's also showing a little bit of weakness. We're kind of turning on the 4-hour. If we lose 212.5, we'll be dipping all the way down to 210, then 207. And we have resistance around this 215 area. Overall, Apple is showing a little bit of a sign of contraction since we got this little break right over here. So this is how they're kind of sweeping liquidity. And this does have the risk of kind of dipping a little bit to about 210 in my opinion. So just be careful. Just a few more. For AMD, we're showing some weakness right now. We are barely at supported 158. I called this level out yesterday. If we lose this, we'll be looking for a bigger dip to 155. If we hold this, we could rebound, but I think that it looks very bearish right now, and I favor it dipping down to about 155, then 153.5 after that. Coinbase is showing some weakness. We're trying to hold our 20 EMA, this 248 area. If we lose that, I'll be looking for 243. If we hold this, we could try to rebound to 250, but it does have some signs of weakness, and there is a risk of it dipping even lower, in my personal opinion. For Amazon, we are dipping a bit. We're kind of trading within a range between 185 and 188, but watch 185.5 as key support. If we lose this, I'll be looking for 183.5. I'm seeing some weakness and a risk of some downside. Meta is no different. Meta is also dipping on the 4-hour time frame all the way down towards the 500 target. I think we're going to be making our way down to 500.6. If we lose that, so we're going to be testing support at the 500 area. If we do lose that, I'll be looking at 497 to 498, this range right here, which is where we have previous resistance. If that fills us, we're coming all the way down to 492 around this area, which is where our 50 EMA is probably going to be. So I see some weakness on Meta, a little bit of signs of contraction. AMC and GameStop are building some momentum. GameStop has 28 as resistance coming up. We got to break this to really start pushing though, so we're not really there yet, but I'm seeing some potential in GameStop to push, but watch a test of 28.7. We'll see if we break that or not. If we close above that, we could bounce more. If not, it is what it is. And then AMC has resistance around 5.4. If we break this, I'll be looking for 5.8 as the next target. Overall, it's holding up very well, and I'm seeing upside potential for it, but I want to see it close above 5.4 to continue to push. So I'll be watching for that very carefully. Just a few more things I wanted to call out that are very important. The dollar index is trying to break out right now above 105. If it continues to hold above this, we'll be going all the way up to this imbalance at 105.12, followed by 105.3. It's looking more bullish. That's a bearish signal for the markets. And then the VIX hits 12. It's trying to bounce off 12. It might try to push to about 12.65 because the market has some downside potential. So a lot of technicals and signals suggest the market may have more downside coming. This is a little bit negative for Tesla and the others, but don't forget that stocks like Tesla could still bounce later on. It's not like it's the end of the world or anything like that. There's still potential for a bounce coming later on for Tesla especially, but we might come down to fill this gap first if we lose 182 before we get a later bounce. So for Tesla and SPY, make sure you watch these levels and do what you have to do, guys. I'll see you guys in just about 3 hours from now. So until then, thank you for listening and peace out.